So, dear friends, I had spoken earlier about using what Bhante Gunaratana calls thinking meditation on those occasions when it's not easy to settle down because the practice is impeded by hindrances. And therefore, for example, if a person is feeling sleepy and lazy and lackadaisical, they could think about arousing energy in order to condition the mind. And then when the mind is energized as a result of thinking, then let go of that and come back to the basic method or the procedure of meditation. There's something similar that's going on here with this dependent origination. These themes are somewhat expressed in terms of theories and concepts. This is inevitable. But if we were to be practicing staying in that realm of theories and concepts, we wouldn't be able to reach the goal. And so I want to encourage you to try to make your meditation as authentic, natural, personal as possible. You come to it directly from what you have deep within. That's kind of like a intuitive and not being forced into the mold of a particular set of concepts, but instead that which is, like I say, it's authentic. It's authentic to your own experience. And at different times in your career as a Buddhist and as a practitioner, what is real for you, what you have, can change and evolve. This year, as I was preparing for this retreat, I was spending my days reading like academic books about dependent origination or different ideas that different talks and articles by different good Buddhist teachers, especially the monastic teachers, and then sitting for meditation. And the thing that kept coming along for me was a sensation of interdependence, a sensation of how this life is related to all of the other life in the world. How this life could not even exist apart from all the other life in the world. How even the choices that I make are so profoundly impacted by the connection that I have to all the other life in the world. And that's not, explicitly laid out or developed in the most of the talks that I see in dependent origination, but that's the experience that's authentic for me right now. And it's not in conflict with dependent origination. And so then, I'm practicing a lot of gratitude and appreciation and a sense of having the intention of non-harming. Ahimsa is Pali, meaning non-harming. It's a very powerful concept. And just developing this wish, if I could not create any harm for any being in the world. So when you recite and memorize the statement of dependent origination, and whichever translation is good for you, then you exert your intelligence to understand the meaning of what's being expressed in the summary of dependent origination. All of those things are conditioning the mind. And then when you come to the cushion, you come to meditation, you're not any longer holding onto those concepts. You're just doing your basic meditation procedure, whether it be watching the breath, doing metta meditation, doing mindfulness of the body, doing some other of the a variety of different contemplations that are offered in our training. When you're doing meditation, you are devoted to the procedure of meditation without having any strong expectation of wanting to get a particular result, just allowing the meditation practice to work on you. And even the result, if you're getting some kind of benefit, that's called there's two words. One is has the meaning of a gain. And this practice is not really about a gain, but the other one is a term called atta, which means a benefit, the good. What good is it? What's the use of meditation? So you might not experience the good of meditation while you are inside the meditation, but then as you emerge from meditation and come into your sort of more ordinary mind that you use to go about your daily life, then you may experience that the mind is changed. The mind is different, the heart is different. And so even the way of understanding things is different. And so then you will experience the arising of insight as you emerge from the meditation. This is actually a point of, I guess, discussion among different teachers. My teacher, Bhante Gunaratana, has got the idea that the insight is happening inside meditation. And he's got reasons based on what's in the sutta and his own experience for believing that. And then others, especially from the early commentary, and the Abhidhamma have got the idea that it's the emerging from meditation is the most opportune, fruitful time for insight to arise. Today's discussion about will be about the self and existence and what the conceptual trap is and how to get out of the conceptual trap. I was wanting to mention to you, I've referred earlier to this lengthy poem of Nagarjuna called the Madhyamaka Karika, which is about the middle way. Through the first 25 chapters of this book, Nagarjuna seems to be attacking the thought of especially the Abhidhamma and the commentarial tradition that came to be in the Theravada, where the monks who, perhaps because they didn't have the Buddha's skill in teaching and speaking about the Dhamma, or perhaps because you had practitioners who were sincere but were not realized, that there was a tendency to kind of like reify the teachings of the Buddha and to take away the subtlety of what the Buddha was expressing, and then to create concepts that became like almost like a materialistic clinging to concepts. I mentioned to you before about the raft. So even the concepts that the Buddha teaches are like a raft that we use to get over to the other side. And then having used that framework or those ideas or those concepts to help us in our practice, then you let go of it because you don't need to cling on to it. The same way, like in what I'm talking about, this thinking meditation, you can think and ponder about ideas, but you've got to then let go of them. In the first 26 chapters of the Madhyamaka Karika, Nagarjuna is saying, no, it's not this. It's not this. Whatever you think, it's not this. It's not this, it's not that. And he's like refuting all of the things that the commentary traditions had been saying about the Dhamma. But when he comes to the 26th chapter, which is the examination of the 12 links of dependent origination, he doesn't give any such refutation. He doesn't refute a dependent origination. He doesn't say it's not this. And he concludes with a kind of like a simple statement of faith and confidence in the practice and in the Dhamma. I'm going to read this to you. I think I'll share the screen so you can read along with me. Wrapped in the darkness of ignorance, one performs the three kinds of actions, which, as dispositions, impel one to continue in future existences. So this is about karma and about the actions of body, speech, and mind. Having dispositions as its conditions, consciousness enters transmigration. Once consciousness has entered transmigration, name and form come to be. Once name and form comes to be, the 6 sense spheres come into being. Depending on the 6 sense spheres, contact comes into being. that is only dependent on I in form and apprehension. Thus, depending on name and form, and which produces consciousness. That which is assembled from the three, I in form and consciousness, is contact. From contact, feeling comes to be. Conditioned by feeling is craving. Craving arises because of feeling. When it appears, there is grasping, the four spheres of grasping. When there is grasping, the grasper comes into existence. If he did not grasp, then being freed, he would not come into existence. This existence is also the five aggregates. From existence comes birth, old age, and death, and misery, and suffering, and grief, and confusion, and agitation. All these arise as a consequence of birth. Thus, the entire mass of suffering comes into being. The root of cyclic existence is action. Therefore, the wise one does not act. Therefore, the unwise is the agent. The wise one is not because of his insight. With the cessation of ignorance, action will not arise. The cessation of ignorance occurs through meditation and wisdom. Through the cessation of this and that. That's the cause and effect. This and that will not be manifest. The entire mass of suffering, indeed, thereby completely ceases. So, there's a way that we're not able to reach any attainment in our practice because of willpower, because we have grasped onto something that we want to get. Nevertheless, we have the ability to make choices. And the choices that we make then become the underlying conditions for our progress on the path. If you find that you're not not able to hold onto your practice, if you find that it's slipping, if you're being overwhelmed by hindrances and obstructions or something like that, if you have an idea of how the progression of the path goes, like your gradual training, or what you know about the Eightfold Path, then think of like going down back a step to an earlier level, and seeing if there's some part of the preceding conditions that you've not properly taken care of, And then when you take care of the preliminary work, then your progress is again able to go forward. So it could be that a person is trying to gain jhana, they're trying to gain concentration, and the mind just won't stay there. It won't stay on the object. You're not able to make progress on that. It could be that you don't have enough mindfulness. You haven't properly developed the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And so then you would like go down a step, and you would go through all the training and everything you've learned about practicing with the 4 foundations of mindfulness, with the body, with the Vedana, with the feeling, with the Chittanupassana, with the mindfulness of states of mind, the Dhammanupassana, especially with being aware of the hindrances and the factors of awakening, being able to discern the presence or absence of those things in your meditation. But if you're trying to be mindful, trying to do the 4 foundations of mindfulness, and the mind just won't stay there, you keep failing in your meditation, you keep losing your meditation, and it's nothing but constant frustration. You may think, well, I should go back and reconsider the purification of the mind by way of right effort. I should examine the states of mind that are present in me and see, do I know how to abandon unwholesome states of mind that have arisen in me? Do I know how to prevent unwholesome states of mind? Am I even willing to let go of unwholesome states of mind, or am I holding on to them because in some way I like them, even though they're unwholesome? Am I able to arouse wholesome states of mind? Or if I don't spontaneously possess wholesome states of mind, does it seem, like not authentic, or for some reason to say, okay, so now I'm going to practice loving kindness, but I'm, I may not be just feeling it right then because I'm feeling like crabby and irritable. And so do I think that just because I'm starting out from a negative mind, that it's impossible for me to arouse and generate loving kindness? Or am I able to find out how, even when loving kindness is absent from the mind, can I find out how to arouse and bring it into existence and to develop it? So doing that whole work with the purification of the mind by right effort. And if I can't do that, if I'm not able to, if I keep failing, then I ought to consider my morality and saying, is there something, that I'm actually not living an ethical life. And because my life is not ethical, that's why I don't have the right ground. I don't have a proper container for the undertaking the meditation practice. And if I'm living an unethical life, and I can't stop myself from doing the same unskillful acts again and again, then I should go back one more step, and I should examine my view, examine my underlying beliefs, and try to discover if there's a way to find a different view, a different way of, a different worldview. And at that point, that might be the best time to urgently and with priority seek out a good friend, somebody who has success in the spiritual practices that I'm aspiring towards, somebody who's realized the qualities that I wish to have, somebody who's trustworthy, somebody who won't break a confidence with me, somebody who is considerate, but somebody who is also honest with me and will be able to point out where I've taken a wrong turn. And I'll be able to hear it from them because I've given them my trust and my confidence. Somebody for whom I have that respect, so that they are a safe friend. We do all these things, and then when we finally come to our meditation practice, we got to just be with what's happening right then. If we find that we're able to be, somewhat settled, whatever meditation procedure we're using, whether it's the breath, contemplating the body, contemplating for foundations of mindfulness, metta meditation. If the mind is able to arrive well and come to a connection with the practice, then make the effort to sustain that, make that be more sustained and more continuous and more settled. Don't try to necessarily, go beyond that and, make progress and, move on to something else, but just stay with the practice and keep doing that practice again and again. There's a certain way, like if, let's say one is intentionally following the breath and being aware of every in-breath and every out-breath. And then bliss arises, or there's an experience of like a light or something like that. We don't just immediately let go of the breath and move over to getting engaged in observing and focusing on this blissful feeling or this experience of light or something like that, but instead stay with the breath as long as we can, and then there will come a time that the breath sort of like drops out, and then nimitta, or the light or the sign of concentration, arises, and then you're not able to hold the breath anymore. The breath goes by itself, and you just have the bliss of the nimitta there. Or it could be on a different occasion that the mind is really restless, and you're actually not able to come and settle and arrive and be well arrived on your object of meditation, because the mind is nearly overwhelmed with distraction or with thoughts, and with some emotional arousal or something like that. And even like the object um, as I sort of dim. Uh, and in that case, uh, even then, you wouldn't say the meditation is unsuccessful. It's just different. And you, practice acknowledging this is what I have right now. The mind is restless, or the mind is upset, or the mind keeps being pulled into thinking about my problems or whatever that is. And just with the sincerity, acknowledge that, come back to the breath or come back to the object, acknowledge that, come back to the object, acknowledge the difficulty, come back to the object. And if you do that, and if you able to return to your object of meditation more than 100 times in one meditation session, you actually practice something which is very powerful, very effective, and very beneficial for you. And then on other occasions, it's at this point you've been just doing your basic push-up exercises on the very first point of meditation, which is to arrive, and it will be to your gain and to your benefit. It can happen that the way we experience what we experience in meditation or in our Dhamma reflections is not just falling into the pattern that we see laid out in the suttas. My suggestion is don't make that a problem. It's like we are 2,600 years away from the Buddha's time. We live in a different cultural setting. We might be speaking a different language than the language the Buddha spoke. We're subjected to so much that's different, even like sitting in front of a computer screen and being subjected to media like this, being so much subjected to reading and taking our meaning from these little marks on pieces of paper or these little marks on a computer screen. And the life that the Buddha lived in that time, there was a very small amount of writing. Writing was not that like used constantly. Instead, things were, the people had the training to listen with their ears and to commit what they learned to memory through oral transmission. So the entire structure of the mind and the Buddha's time was different. That the people had a different kind of intelligence, that they were capable of listening and remembering things in a different way than we don't even have that anymore because of cultural changes. Now we've got books and computers that we have to use as props to help us to remember things. During the Buddha's time, people got around by walking. And so on a daily basis, somebody might spend 5 or 6 hours each day walking here and there. If they're a wandering monk, they might be walking from village to village, or if they're settled, they might be walking from their place of abiding, their quiet place of abiding, down to where they receive their alms food. And so just the action of long walking changes the mind. It's kind of like for this reason that I'm very grateful that in our monastery here at Dhammadharini, we have our monastery, which is a house in a suburban city of Pengrove, or I should say a village. And then we also have some land and a forest that has been given to us. And out there in the forest, we've built some cabins which are not electrified and which do not have Wi-Fi and do not have indoor plumbing. So it's such a boon to be out there and to sort of, in some ways, have a lifestyle that's very old-fashioned, because it makes it in some ways a little bit easier to come into connection with our Buddhist traditions. So we have to, when we, the clothing, gets dirty, and we have to wash it in a bucket because we don't have a washing machine. And so it gives you like a completely different, type of appreciation for clothing. In our tradition, the cloth is so valuable. If there's some cloth which is owned by the monastic community, and we want to, it's like we have too much, we want to give it away. And we have to have a meeting of at least four bhikkhunis, and we have to come to a formal community resolution to decide that it's okay that we're willing to give away this cloth. That's how precious cloth is. The quiet and the silence that can be experienced when you're out in the forest camping, or in a place where there's no electricity and no Wi-Fi. It's a different kind of quiet, and it's very supportive to a different type of mental state. But nevertheless, we still are coming to the Dhamma from our own culture. We're coming to it from a Western culture. And we have to make a marriage of our own worldview and the Dhamma that we encounter and that we hear about by encountering other practitioners and encountering the teachings that have been passed down to us in words. There has to be this marriage. My sense is that it's kind of like the Buddha said that the different rivers in India, each river has got a different personality. One river is very slow and muddy, and another river is very fast and clear. One river the water is blue, one river the water is yellow, or something like that. And all of the rivers come together and come to the sea. And when they come to the sea, they mix with the ocean. And then they all become one in character. And he said that individuals who are not yet awakened would have, different and distinctive personalities, different and distinctive and unique mentality. But then when we wake up, there's a way that they become much more falling into a universal archetype pattern, which is the pattern of the Dhamma, which has one taste, which is the taste of freedom, just as the ocean has the taste of salt. And so if what you're experiencing is not yet matching what you read about or what you hear about in the Dhamma, have a little patience and acknowledge how you experience the practice. Keep on practicing. Keep on being faithful to the basic meditation procedures that you've learned. And keep on hearing the Dhamma and reflecting about the Dhamma. And you may find that over the passage of time, that you can see more and more like connections between like what's distinctive and unique in your personal experience and what's universal in the categories of the Dhamma. And then you can, weave together the factors of your personal experience with the factors of Dhamma until, as time goes by, it becomes more and more integrated. And it could be that your particular experiences are like not that important anymore. And that which you've come to know and come to experience, which is part of the universal Dhamma, becomes like the main event, the main aspect of your practice. So I will leave you with these few thoughts and invite you to continue your meditation and come back in a few hours, which would be at 12:30 in California time. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for your patient listening.